Welcome to the Golden Crane Award-winning Color Success Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie J. Wong. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Color Success Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie J. Wong, and I'm so excited to have the Partner Track cast on today, streaming on Netflix as we speak. So before we get into and have our guests introduce themselves, I'll give a brief synopsis. It follows the wonderful Arden Cho as Ingrid Yun as she navigates the becoming a partner at a huge corporate law firm. Sounds easy, right? Work hard, get the job? No. Ingrid is a young Asian American woman and navigating a process that is an old boys club, as well as having high expectations for herself and high expectations from her parents. I'm looking at Joe and Esther. We'll get to that in just a bit. But I wanted to give a special shout out to Joe for getting all these VIPs here on this Friday night party, like just such a fun bunch. And I'm super grateful. So thank you, 감사합니다. So let's get into it. If we can go in alphabetical order by first name, Des, you are first. And then you can go first and introduce yourself and your character.
Absolutely. I'm Desmond Chiam and I play Z on Partner Track.
Hi, I'm Esther Moon. I play Soo-Jung, Ingrid's mom on Partner Track.
Who's next? Is it me?
Yes.
Yep.
I'm Joe Sung. I play Sang-Hoon Yun, father of Ingrid. I also wanted to thank Dr. Wong for having us on and just really appreciate everything that you do for mental health advocacy, especially for the Asian American community. So thank you.
Yeah, hear you.
Thank you so much.
Is it by first names? Am I next?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm Kelvin Han Yee, and I'm honored and grateful to be here. I play Franklin Papa Min on Partner Track.
Hey, I'm Rich Ting. I play the favorite son of Papa Min. AKA Carter Min. And I am the proud older brother of Z. Yeah.
Oh yeah, bro.
Hi, I'm Rob Heaps and I play Nick Laren on Partner Track.
Thank you guys so much for introducing yourselves. This is a groundbreaking series because it focuses so much on sociopolitical issues. And that's why I'm just so interested in it. Aside from, Arden being an Asian female lead on the show, which is groundbreaking in itself. So what cultural significance does this show have for you? And why was it important to integrate Hangukgo or Korean and English in the dialogue?
Well, for me, and I know for a lot of us on this show, it's exciting when you see something with an Asian American lead, especially on TV, and a female Asian American lead at that. So that is exciting. I was really excited to be part of a Korean American family on TV because, how many Korean American families do you see on TV? Not many. So that was really exciting for me. And as far as the Konglish, the Korean and English mixed in, that was really special because it just adds an extra layer of authenticity, I think, to our characters. And it really reflects real life. Oh man, I can't even count the number of DMs I got on social media about, oh my God, I can't believe you guys incorporated so much Korean. I felt like I was watching my own family. Someone even said to me, oh, I was really triggered watching you guys. So to me, that's so significant. And, I'm so grateful to be part of that.
I just wanted to touch upon Arden being the lead, playing Ingrid. I think out of all of us here, I've probably known her the longest. We both first moved to LA like 12 years ago, and we were in this small movie that we will not name.
Oh, come on.
Together a long time ago. But just watching her journey from just out of college, come to LA and just kind of work her way through to what she is today, like 12 years later. It was nothing but blood, sweat, and tears. And she went through a lot of the stuff Ingrid goes through on the show. So she is the perfect embodiment of that Asian American female, just working her way up with blood, sweat, and tears, but in a different industry. And I can say, and we all agree, she was such a leader on the set. Like, she was so gracious to everybody. She just made sure everything was, that we had a very tight set. Everybody was treated very well. So I guess that is kind of like the motherly side of her as well. So I thought it was just very important just to see that. And just, I mean, we all have these journeys that we all go through. And, there's so many talented people here in this city, in this world. But, it's people like Arden who really rise to the top. I nicknamed her Kobe on set. I kept calling Kobe. She has that Mamba mentality. So
hey Joe, can we mention her work as a musician, because she is a tremendous singer and musician, and she's been doing that for years as well, and she's an incredibly talented artist, and
multi-hyphenate.
I think we're watching her blow up right now.
And if I can mention, when she was starting out in her earlier works, not the best actor, not the best singer, but she seeked out mentors. She seeked out the best classes, and she worked her way to being who she is right now, the number one on a big Netflix show. So
number 2 in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Let them know.
Papa Yun, like, just totally had his daughter's back. Yeah, exactly. I was like, these are the father vibes right here.
She's going to be buying me some filet mignon later.
Yeah. Oh, so you got paid off. I get it. No, so that's what successful children should do for their parents.
And I think the next question, I think this question needs to go to Rob Heaps about mixing Korean and English. He had just as many Korean lines as I did.
Yeah.
And he did good.
Okay, here we go.
Excellent.
Can't wait. I can't wait for this.
This is going to go viral in the worst way, isn't it?
Hey, we got you back, bro.
Okay. Hang on my Joachim Hale.
Oh,
That's what I got. But that was Arden. That was Arden teaching me that. I just have to second everything you guys have said. I think it was two things with her. A, she was easily the most impressive company leader I've worked with on a show. I mean, she just took that responsibility so seriously. So, her generosity is actually absurd. Like, she threw this huge Thanksgiving party during that week for anyone that was in town, because we weren't shooting, and that, stuff like that. Through this incredible spread. My parents were in town visiting New York from England, and they came along, and all that lovely stuff. And then I think, as well as that more general company leader, I think the way she protected the Korean side of the story and the language and the heritage. And I mean, the day that I met you guys, Esther and Joe, and we had the food, the scene where Nick is invited back for Chuseok, and we have the dinner. And I remember she was sort of explaining all the different foods and I don't know, in the language, and it was really, and that you guys were doing all that improvisation on the doorstep. Do you remember? And you were doing all the Korean mum stuff of, you sure you want to eat that? You're putting on weight.
yeah.
Your daughter and all this stuff that was just so authentic and really fun.
Yeah, no, we had so much fun playing around in that dinner scene. It didn't make it in, but we still had fun, on set.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sounds amazing. I mean, basically, I was trying not to fangirl, and it sounds like everyone is fan-personing over Arden. And so we really do miss her. I know that she's traveling, but maybe we can rope her in at one point, because she just seems like an awesome person. But going back to those parental expectations, right? I mean, many of us have experienced that when, you come into a family gathering and someone says, oh, maybe you shouldn't eat that, or you look fat. And I tell my mother-in-law all the time, like, Mom, you can't say that. She's like, well, they just need to know. I'm like, ooh, okay. So what was it like, and how did you convey those parental expectations that maybe some immigrant families have for their children?
It was kind of easy for us because the words were written, you know?
That was my answer.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it was written so well. And so all we had to do was deliver the lines. But I think, you know, one of the, you know, someone asked me about, like, you know, Asians portraying like a different Asian than their actual background. And, you know, I have nothing against like it, because, you know, this book, it was originally a Chinese American, you know, and, you know, I have no problem portraying, for example, a Chinese mom. But I think there is something special when you do portray a character that is your own ethnic background, because you, again, it's like that whole authenticity thing, right? And so even when I'm playing a mom, a Korean mom, in addition to the well-written words on the page, there's also little mannerisms, little looks that Korean moms give. Even like little sounds like you know, and just that one tone can indicate approval or disapproval. And you know, she doesn't need to say anything else. You hear that and you know what she means. And so I think, thankfully the words were written well for us. But in addition to that, I just pulled from my own life, my own mom. I have like the quintessential Korean mom, and I'm also a Korean mom myself. And so I just pulled that in, and then we just kind of played around with it. And, what worked, what made it in, and,
I think that the cultural specificity is played so well in Part and Track and by these actors. And, I have to say, I do a lot of guest star work, and I'm on a lot of sets where they're starting to tell Asian American stories, and they're starting to feature Asian American characters. We are at a time of sea change about storytelling coming from diverse places, because there is so much content that we need to have now, because there's just so much streaming, and so there is space now for us all, and we are, and many different communities are taking that space right now. I have to say that in my experience recently on different sets, that there has been a hesitation to use Asian accents, because my community has experienced a history. I've been in this business probably longer than anybody else here has. I've been doing this for 40 years. I made my first movie in 1985. And in that time, whenever we saw an accent on television or in a movie, it was to make fun of us, or it was kind of derogatory. And then, of course, out on the street or in the playground, we have historically always been made fun of the way we talk, right? Because it is the other, it is the way we are, that you can point out our difference, right? But I have been faced with creators that have been hesitant for me to use Asian accents. And I think that's too bad, because I think that it speaks to the damage that my community has felt in the way that we have been portrayed. And so I think that now we're correcting that. And it just comes down to as an artist, as an actor, just doing good work. When a British actor or an Australian actor or a white actor does an accent that is outside of their own, it's acting. And it's just about doing it well, specifically and authentically. And so that's how I feel about it. And I think that this show is getting to that, and it is giving us a space to do our work well, and to do the specificity well, the cultural specificity, and to do it right, to do it with pride.
I think Des, you had
represent
something
the
too?
right way. Yeah.
Well, I kind of wanted to point out as well that just in terms of, I think Partray is unique in some ways in having two East Asian families from two different ethnic backgrounds, but both East Asian. Mm-hmm. And it does a good job of, I think, distinguishing the dynamics of the two, retaining the parts that obviously are similar, like Esther, when you were making that sound before. I'm not Korean, but my mom makes a similar sound. And I was like, oh, every time he made it. It just triggered something primal in me. And then, but the relationship that Z has with his father, on the show is obviously it mirrors Arden's relationship with her parents, but it is subtly different in some ways. And I think those were just intuitive mechanisms that we kind of just brought in from our backgrounds. And as to your point, I think allowing us to get specific like that just lets us call on a breadth of experience that we otherwise haven't been allowed access to. Yes. And that's acting, right? You find the magic, you find little bits, you find little deep bits, and it just provides an easy well for us to go to in some ways, and TV moves so fast. Sometimes it's nice to have that quick, I know exactly what to do here, and I know it'll be accepted because they're accepting this cultural background.
Absolutely. And I mean, Rob Heaps is speaking Korean. I mean, we've succeeded, guys.
Well, I also wanted to mention
he did the good acting.
Go ahead, Joe.
I also wanted to mention, Esther pointed this out earlier as well. I think it's very important that Georgia Lee is the showrunner to make it. I mean, it made it that authentic. And then we had directors like Kevin Berlandy, who's a Korean adoptee, Lily Marie, Asian Americans. I think it really makes a difference who's making these shows and writing the lines and just really care about these little details. I mean, I'm still getting auditions right now with very bad translations, like literal, and these are network shows. These they literally Google translated it, and it drives me nuts because
it's a big problem there. Because they don't have the people. They're more established. They're older. They're a legacy industry. They don't have the younger.
In other words, there's nobody in the writer's room
that
can do the right work.
Yeah.
So, but what's happening now is that more of all kinds of people are coming into the writers' rooms and into the producing.
And finding this.
I have, as I said before, I do a lot of guest star work. I've been working on Kung Fu, which is the showrunner's Christina Kim, right? I just finished a little film for Disney called Maxine, and Nikki Ong is the director and writer of that, and she's an Asian American woman who's LGBTQ identifying, and she's telling that story from authenticity and truth.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
And so from Justin Lin in the 90s when he sort of came out and started busting through with Fast and Furious and like that, and then Justin started getting into a lot of producing rooms, and Justin produces things that you don't even realize it. He's on that exact producers list. His name is everywhere, and and we see this in other communities as well. African American community, the Latinx community, if I can even use that word. But there's diversity in the writing room now, and in producing and show running now.
And we're all the better for it, and this
I think so.
Yeah. And this question is for Des and Rich. You play completely opposite brothers on the show. Des, you're going green and putting the company into the new age. And Rich, you're playing the lawyer who likes to party, kind of like frat boyish. And so, but you both have law degrees. And I'm wondering what led you to forge your own path, and has law helped you in being an actor?
Take it away, mate.
Wow, now he respects me. I love it.
Throwing you in.
Oh, now he goes, go ahead.
Said
Wow.
you're the favorite son. You're the favorite
Gosh,
son.
it's so different.
See, he's like, oh, this guy. Fucking Carter. Sorry, I can't. I don't know if I can swear.
Oh, it's perfectly fine.
But just to clarify, so you're asking us both our real life kind of deal and translating onto a character like we played?
Absolutely. And also,
Okay.
you know, how did you decide to go from law to acting? Because that may have not been easy.
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
No, I wouldn't go there. I mean, I think the reason why, I mean, just from I think everyone has their own experiences, right? But from my experience, you know, I went into law because I was actually really curious about the law, the legal system, you know, as generic as it sounds, like, you know, one's rights, literally, right? So to me, I never went into law to, you know, become a DA or to go into public defending or to go into corporate law or whatever, or to work my way up a partner track, so to speak, right? It was more for the education and for like the life experience. And so when I explain it that way, you know, I'm sure all of my colleagues here can echo, is that, you know, acting is, you know, the foundation is, you know, honesty, right? And pulling from, you know, like they always said, the best acting is not acting. So to me, it was just one of those other tools that allowed me an insight or an angle or perspective on certain things in life. And so, you know, I get that a lot, and I'm sure Des gets it too, which is like, oh man, you went to all these different academic institutions and then you went into acting. And to be honest, I don't appreciate that angle that people come at me with, because to me, it's very ignorant. Because to me, some of the most intelligent people I've ever met are in this entertainment acting world.
Absolutely.
You know, if anything, you know, my dad is a surgeon, and people are like, wow. But to me, that just means, and no offense to other doctors as you're hosting this, but, you know, to me, from my own family experiences, that just means he's limited. You know, to be honest, he's excellent at what he does, but he does one thing.
It's very specialized.
It's very specific. It's very specialized. Where in perspective, what you asked is the law. The law is so broad, right? It covers so many things. And we're talking about US law, not even international law. So to me, I took that kind of same approach with the acting, which is acting takes in, you know, it's a craft. It takes everything to, you know, Kelvin's 40 years in the business. Maybe he's going to get an impulse on set next week that he's never had before in 40 years, right? But it's taken 40 years for him to get to that point where he can react like that to something that's happening in the moment, right? So to me, it was a blessing that I went through the law school experience. Ironically, our characters, like you mentioned, are lawyers who aren't really technically practicing law. And so to me, similar to how Joe and Esther were able to kind of filter in the Korean culture within their character, you know, it's little nuances that I think both Des and I have because we went through the legal training, so to speak. So, you know, for me, I think character-wise now, if I were to transition and kind of talk about how does that apply to Carter, you know, I think, you know, lawyers have a certain reputation, right? And I just think it's because the amount of knowledge and awareness they have from their training. Which, you know, can sometimes lead to, for example, in Carter's case, a little bit of arrogance. You know, he's a little bit too secure. You know, he's the general counsel of the corporation. He's obviously dad's eldest son and favorite son. And then he's a lawyer. So it's like you just stack all these up. And that's why he kind of has this aura and this vibe about not necessarily wanting to party, but, you know, I'm sure if he found something that he was interested in, you know, he would be able to direct all that energy that way, you know, similar to where, and I don't want to speak for Des, but similar to where Z, he's kind of found his focus, you know, so he's going that way. Where the thing I like about partner track is everyone is finding their niche, so to speak, right? And again, for anyone that hasn't watched it, who is viewing this panel right now, I don't want to ruin it, but, you know, it kind of sets the precedence that everyone in their own little individualistic lives, they find their love or their passion, you know, doing what they're supposed to be doing, so to speak, you know. And I think, ironically, when we get to episode 10, we realize certain people have, you know, made that adjustment and kind of started making their way to that passion of theirs that was maybe deep inside them, that now they're brave enough and they have the courage and confidence to pursue. But I don't know if Carter has found that yet. So interested to see what happens in that perspective with him. But again, just to kind of tie it all up, you know, all my experiences, academic, athletic, personal, whatever it may be, I mean, they've all added to this craft that we're allowed to do and to perform, you know, for literally the world. And so I just think, you know, the more tools, the better, at least for in my situation. So I always take, you know, law school or being a former lawyer as an advantage, you know, not necessarily because I can play a lawyer, but just because of those experiences I've had, you know, that I can share those things with the characters I portray.
That's beautifully said, because you're extrapolating your skills that you learn and doing something that you love. And so, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't think in grad school that I'd be here talking to you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like active listening, communication skills. That's what you get as a clinician. But I think you are all coming in with your experiences that make the characters, no pun intended, more rich.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, also just, I mean, to add one other thing, I mean, we talk about being a lawyer, we talk about ethnicity, but I'm a brother. I'm an older brother in real life. You know what I mean? I have younger siblings, very similar to Z. So the lack of respect, let's say, doesn't throw me off on camera. I'm very, very comfortable with all that. So, but no, I mean, that's also a cool thing too. You know, it's the fact that, you know, being the eldest of an Asian American family and the eldest son, you know, that's a role in itself. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. With
good and bad things that I was so thrilled to be able to kind of, you know, share in my special ways, you know, whatever that may be. It could be a look or a sound, like Esther said, right? Or it could just be it could be a look. And, you know, I've given that look. So, you know, those are the cool little pieces of gold, I say, that, you know, we are able to like share, you know, with these characters we play. Yeah. Okay, Z, go ahead, dude.
No, you said it all so well.
Mic dropped.
Like it's so funny because in the middle of what you were saying, I was like, I have a thing that I like to say, like for acting, I think they're both important, but I think living broadly is a little more important than necessarily living deeply for acting specifically. So it kind of mirrors that sentiment. I mean, it's all part of the same contiguous line that brought us to this place. I think for me, at least with Z, the whole eco warrior thing is something I'm familiar with in terms of like a very strong 180-degree reaction to the expectations and you know, pressures placed on you. That is something I'm familiar with, and it's sort of why I ended up in acting. I didn't really go straight into acting. I kind of quit law, fumbled around for a long time, and then was just like, oh, I'll try this acting thing. And some of my friends were nice enough to take me in and sort of coach me on it. But yeah, it's everything that Rich said. It's all part of one line. It's all part of one thing. It's not like, you know, you were this way and suddenly you diverged and went the other way. Everything adds up to, you know, the reality of who you are. And I think, and then again, part of track was a set that allowed the reality of who you are to flourish. And there's no per se magic per se to that or alchemy. It is just a matter of providing space for your reality to be safely expressed.
Where did your angst come from? Because you seem like such a happy-go-lucky person, and Z is just like, ugh. Sometimes it's like, ugh.
I think as Asians, I don't know if this is true, but I'm going to hazard that we all are familiar with a very deep rage. And I say rage and not just anger, but it's there. And I have that. It's something that I've dealt with in my past. I have a very quick temper, not in terms of like how fast I get to it. It takes me a long time to get there, but once I get there, it's like, boom. And then for Z, it's sort of like just learning how to take that impulse and let it simmer. And as a mental health advocate, you know that I think a lot of us deal with that because of the value our culture places on silence.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously,
the boiling pot of water.
Right. Yes, that anger and that rage does build up, and it does come out in very, very inappropriate places sometimes. So that is sort of there, and that's sort of where I kept Z. I kept him at a simmer, right, instead of a boil. That's sort of where I wanted him to live, because he's constantly in opposition in every scene that he is in. He tends to be in opposition to something that's going on in the scene that he doesn't think is right. So that keeps him in that constant state of like, the world, you know?
Yeah. Well, Rob, I want to pivot over to you because you play the quintessential nice guy. And, I'm not going to spoil everything, but there's this one scene where I thought, oh, for sure he's going to throw the food at them. He's going to get so mad, but you just, here you go. And then, but
are you talking about maybe a certain brownie?
Yeah.
Oh man, now I wish I'd thought of that.
Yeah. You need me on set to help you throw
just
food.
chuck it, bro. Just chuck it at him.
Follow your impulse.
Yeah, exactly.
If you could do anything right now, what would it be?
He needs a little bit of that K rage, that Asian rage.
Really?
Let it boil.
Yeah. So now Nick had a like a great grandmother in South Korea.
That little kernel of like heat is like in there.
Yeah.
But you didn't throw anything. You pretty much had this. You knew what you wanted. Was it planful to be so pure of heart? And sometimes it almost felt a little too perfect as a man that she was interested in.
It's so funny. I had a really weirdly hard time with this part, and I really like playing people with insecurities and an edge, and kind of what you were just saying, Des, about what am I pushing against it, like what am I biting down on in the scene. And with Nick, it's really hard to locate those edges because he pretty much has a great time. He lives in a penthouse on Fifth Avenue. He's got money.
He's a great life, basically.
And it sounds great, but genuinely, I found it really hard. I don't know how. And there's almost this weird pressure of like, you're supposed to be the perfect bachelor, Manhattan's most eligible bachelor, all this weird. And I got really nervous about, what, I don't know, it's just a strange thing to sort of try and embody. And so I tried to find, it's funny, I got a message online from someone who'd seen the show, and she said, I actually find your character a little, I can't remember what the word she used. It wasn't creepy exactly, but it was almost what you don't know, that it was like there is a body buried under the patio. And I actually really liked that because I genuinely tried to play that. I thought there has to be
something wrong, something underneath.
It's not just about Murphy. There has to be something that slightly pushes Ingrid away. And she says it herself. She says it's a little fast. It's a little, and I think maybe when you have that wealth and that amount of privilege, there's a slight controlling element to the way you live your life, where everything is lined up as you want it. You have your personal trainer at 6 o'clock, you have a green juice at 7:30, you do all that. Everything's just so lined up. And I think you fall into this slight OCD thing almost, where, you see his games consoles, they're all kind of lined up. And so I think maybe there was that slight, that slight perfection that almost pushes her away. And it's the mess of Murphy and the edge of Murphy and like all that icky stuff that she ends up being drawn towards. And I think there's actually something to that. And I think if this, hopefully, as we all hope the story continues, I would love to see Nick. I think he's actually, if you look at the last scene, the last time you see him, which is at the beginning of episode 9, again, without giving too much away, there is a bit more of an edge to him. The last time he sees Ingrid, it's a little nasty. And I think I personally would like to see, he's been pushed into the pit. He's down in the pit there. I think he's not used to being there because he's used to having everything his own way. And
that's such an interesting perspective. I didn't think that you were being that mean.
But then Georgia didn't agree. She was like, no, he's just, honestly, it's a journey that he's just great. He's perfect. It's easy. He's charismatic. I was like, yeah, but there has to be something like that. We're all actors, right? That you have to find some kind of edge.
Can I point out that there are any number of like young men that I know who are much less humble than Rob, who would have happily gone like, oh, I'm playing a perfect character with no flaws. Hell yeah, let's go.
I have no insecurity.
It speaks to humility, man. Like, I love it. It's the best. You're like, no, but there has to be something wrong with him.
At the same time, maybe. I do also look. That said, I love the decency. I love he is a genuine romantic, like genuinely, and I think those are values that we don't see that often on screen now. And I think I don't know. I love films like that. Like one of my favorite films is the original Superman. You know, I love Christopher Reeve's performance in the original Superman because there's just this purity to it, and this genuine chivalry and grace and humor and twinkle that's so, I don't know, it's kind of timeless and wonderful. And I do love work like that as well. So it was nice to find bits of that in Nick as well. Hopefully, yeah.
One of my
I love that. I love all that.
It's amazing. Yeah. I had the most cringeworthy scene for me was when Dan Fallon stood up and did his stand-up. It was just really, really clearly homophobic, clearly racist. And so I'm wondering what your reactions were watching it on set or watching it when it was recorded.
Any of us were there for that day to see it happen on set. But I had a weird experience with that ex post facto where I don't know if anyone else got similar messages, but I did have some people who were like DMing me like very confused as to what was wrong with that scene. Like extremely like we don't like, did he say something bad? I don't get it. And in isolation, I sort of understand missing that, but like in combination with the scene that he has with Brad prior, like where, you know, Brad said these words to him and now he's spitefully throwing them back in like this big performed thing. Context is important. So that was sort of my answer, is like, look, in the package deal, like go back and watch that scene and then watch them back to back and you'll see how spiteful he's being. If you missed it somehow, but you know, that was a really bizarre experience. I was like, what do you mean what was wrong? It was pretty wrong, man.
Yeah, I was like, everyone's like kind of laughing a little bit, except a couple people.
That I think shows how well the scene was, because there are people who would just laugh at that and be like, "No, nothing wrong with that, haha," you know. And I got those messages in real life, so obviously they exist. And I think nothing wrong with trying to bridge that ignorance.
Absolutely.
You know?
So we're all hoping for a season 2, obviously. And so I'm going to ask, where would you like to see your characters go and the storyline? And also Vincent Yee calls Rich Bolo and says hi, and that and that he wants to know if you're going to be on the romantic partner track. But yeah, I'm wondering, what do you see in the future for your characters?
Gotta get the girl, man. Gotta get a girl. I think the obvious cliffhanger that not to spoil anything, I'm hoping that we go to the inevitable conclusion for season 2, at least for Z. And I think that's circumspect enough to not have spoiled anything for anyone. It's relatively obvious, I'd like to think, that what we set up is being set up. And I just want to see also how he handles being thrown into a situation where he probably will have to compromise on his ethics. He can't be that iron rigid. It's not possible. It's not feasible in a business environment. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, I really want
to know what Ingrid's going to do about Murphy.
Yeah, well, everyone's online is saying Ingrid and Z ship. So, I mean, it's kind of like this K-drama thing going around, but you know, is Murphy shady and all those kinds of things, or shady with her? That's, I think, more specific.
Yeah. What's she going to do about it?
Yeah, Mom, that's where you want to ask. Yes. Yeah. So Esther,
Papa's going to come in.
Yeah, there he is.
I hope
there's that scene of you cleaning your shotgun silently.
Oh, I think you bring that up, but I think that's very interesting, right? Because, like, ironically, I just realized we have both fathers here. I mean, sorry guys, I know you as Joe, I know you as Kelvin, like, but I'm like, we have the two fathers here, and we have a Chinese dad and we have a Korean dad. My wife in real life is Korean, so it's like, but my in-laws are very, very sweet to me, and they didn't hold any ethnic apprehension, let's say, right? But I think that right now, just looking at this screen with these different Asian ethnicities, I mean, we're talking about authenticity, right? I mean, I think that would be, okay, let's say Z does get the girl, right? And that goes that way. I mean, I think that's a whole can of worms to open up culturally.
Oh, for sure.
What I mean? Yeah. And I don't know, that just came in my head as I'm watching Kelvin, I'm watching Joe. I'm like, oh my God, that's it right there. Like,
wouldn't that be great to see?
Yeah, because I think
that'd be cool.
I think, in relation to what Des was saying about the feedback about that racial kind of sexist speech or stand-up thing that Dan does, how maybe some people quote unquote missed it. I think people would miss the Chinese Korean dynamic, and that should be brought to light, to forefront, because that
It happens.
very obvious. I mean, to us, it's very obvious. To Rob, it is, because he's been around us now, so he knows more. He knows more than we do about.
No, but seriously, this has genuinely been an education for me in the specificity of it all.
Well, no, also because you're like the most, like you said, the most humble, open-minded, polite guy. I wish I could say your acting is phenomenal, that you're really not like that in real life, but I don't really.
You're totally
like,
that guy.
I really wish I could say that, dude. But having met you in real life, you're kind of just doing you, and that sucks. You're annoying.
Well,
but that's fine.
No,
How dare you, Rich?
No, we'll go out. We'll go out. You and I will go out on the town. You'll see. You'll see.
Bring out the insecurities.
You'll see how many laws I break.
I'd like to see Rob.
You do McConaughey in the strip film. What's it? Magic Mike.
Magic Mike.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to
Fantastic.
see that. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I want to say something about
Go ahead.
representation. Sorry, so it's really been on my mind this entire interview, the thing we're doing, and because this thing has made me think more about representation and how I never gave it enough due thought. And it strikes me that there are different ways of doing representation. And one way is obviously what you'd call colorblind casting, where let's say you're doing a Shakespeare, and the point is you cast like a Korean actor and they can play Hamlet. And the point is not that they're Korean. The point is that you see past the Koreanness or whatever it is to the actual character. And that's obviously really important. And what we have with Partner Track, and I think what is so beautiful, is something different, which is that you're looking at the specificity of the heritage in the face, and you've actually got characters within the show that are talking, like in the pilot. We all watched the pilot at the premiere, and that Ted Laster says that thing to Ingrid in the first episode. Wow, you folks are lucky that way, or something about aging. And you felt that collective intake of breath in the theatre. That, and it's like, oh my god, and I think that's why, I've seen some people comparing the show to stuff like Emily in Paris and whatever, and it's all like soapy. And I think it does a little disservice, because I think the way in which those sort of those tensions, right, between racial identity and what you have is really a story about people from different backgrounds within a predominantly white world. You mean, so it's not even like something like Crazy Rich Asians, where that is just pretty much about the Asian community. You're looking at like a real intersection and the friction that comes from that, because it's handled with awareness. And you've got people, writers and actors, leaning into the discomfort of it. And I think that's what's so good about this.
Our script is so good about showcasing microaggressions, a very subtle thing that is, it's hard for somebody to explain. It's hard to even talk about, but when you see it, you feel it. And that's why it's important to tell stories like this. That's why it's important to tell stories so that everybody hears everybody else and everybody feels the same experiences and sees the things, and it's a very subtle thing. It's not, this overt racism. It's not somebody getting, beat up and strung up or something like that, right? It's,
there are these slights. Microaggressions are slights that just chip
but
away at you.
They are traumatic. These things are traumatic to a community and to a person's psyche, and over time too. Yeah.
If I could add to like your original question about where we'd like to go, the selfish rich Ting, I really love the dynamic, to be honest, that just story-wise we didn't have the time to really get into, but there was sprinkles of it, right? One is literally this dynamic I have with my father, right? And this other dynamic I have with my younger brother. And I don't really think it matters what culture you come from. I think that appeals to a very broad umbrella with no color line, so to speak, and I think one specific thing that we're doing here on Partner Track is we have the generational gaps as well. We have the parents, right? And then we have the other generation of the kids. And I just think, like, when you take a step back, the fact that Hollywood is now showing that second, third, fourth generation of Asian American, whether it's through me or Des or Arden or Lena, right? I think that's a huge win for us, because
Absolutely.
that's a whole nother world, like a whole nother world. I mean, we've all been educated in obviously the foreigner, in Asia. Then we've been educated in the immigrant coming to the States, right? But now we have this new generation and these newer generations now that, even though I'm fourth generation in real life, there's younger third generation kids that I don't even understand what they're talking about, you know what I mean? Or what they're going through, like culturally in American society now, right? And so I think to give that voice to us, literally, to that second, third, fourth generation Asian American boy, girl, whatever we have it, and to see that there is still, even with like Ingrid's parents, like there's that huge cultural like conflict. And even with my dad, there's that huge cultural like connection that he has with the eldest and not with the younger son, right? And then there's that rivalry between the brothers of that generation. Mm-hmm. So no spoilers, but the fact that the story kind of goes towards Min Enterprises, right? Towards the end, I hope we have the space, as Kelvin mentions, to explore those dynamics in a little bit more detail, where you are now in Min, you're in the Min house now, literally, right? You're under that umbrella. So let's kind of explore that. It doesn't have to be the driving story, obviously, but let's definitely shed light, like the cultural dinner on Chuseok that was so awesome to share with everyone. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I'll be aggressive about it. I think it deserves a full plot thread, because the fallout of that daddy's decision at the end, that is like not dealing with that. That's leaving money on the table in terms of a drama, man. That's wasting a really, really good thread, I think, and a really specific and a really nice nuanced thread. So I'm going to say it even more overtly. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I really hope so. Really. Kelvin, sorry, you were saying something, and maybe you can speak upon maybe how you would like to continue playing the character and dissecting that dynamic between you and your sons.
In my playing Franklin Min, I am totally personalizing it. I'm totally playing my father, because I was Z and Carter when I was that age. I was in a movie called The Great Wall, and I play a Chinese American kid who's a football player, Rich. Right, he's like he's got
we see
he wears
Rich.
the Joe Montana jersey, and he plays football on top of the Great Wall in China. So this was a long time, but I went in a different direction than my father wanted me to go into. So I'm totally personalizing this, and I am totally playing truths, human truths, and culturally specific family truths, Chinese truths. I got to say, I'm totally bearing it open and playing my truth when I'm playing Franklin. I totally understand it, the dynamics that they're going through. I totally get this family. I mean, I kind of looked like you guys when I was young, right?
You still do, dude. What are you talking about?
Right, a little bit, right?
Come on, man.
Right, yeah, right. We make a good family, but and my father was just like that. My father was he was a cool dude, man. He was tough. He had to be tough. He came up tough, and but he gave me a lot of slack, because I broke his heart a million times, man, but I would just love to play this more. I think there's so much more to explore.
Mm-hmm.
So much truth to put out there, that we've got.
So Joe, aside from wanting to kick Murphy's butt, where would you like to see this dynamic? I was about to cuss, but where do you see this dynamic going?
Well, as these guys were mentioning, I would love to see some interaction with the Min family. Me and Kelvin were joking about this on social media. It's like we need to have a polite fight scene. I think that'd be pretty realistic.
That would not be really realistic. Polite? That would not be realistic.
Backhanded compliment.
I pay the bill. I have more money than you. I
right.
paid the
Okay,
bill.
right.
Capulets.
A huge fight over the bill. The scene
You know,
right there.
right?
It writes itself.
Right?
Happens all the
That's
time.
just real
though.
life, right?
But I would win in getting the bill.
Well,
True.
you would say you're going to the bathroom.
100% you would.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I mean, you guys can fight over the bill, but then ultimately,
Right.
Yeah,
It's just writing itself.
And you do it by
It's-
shaming us somehow.
Let's get Georgia on this call. Let me get Georgia in real quick.
Yeah,
This is being recorded, so
It'll be out there for ideas.
Don't
No,
make
this is
me like
You're
tie
sending
my
script notes now.
hair. Get some Vaseline on my face.
I mean,
no. You would just say You would just make the sound and then just take the bill, or
Yeah,
pretend to
there
go
it
to the
is.
bathroom and then pay for it already. That's always a classic trick.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons is I love these guys, man. Like, I would love to be in more scenes with these guys for sure. But as far as where do we want to see Daddy Yun and Mama Yun, that dynamic of like strict father and daughter or son, we've all gone through that. A lot of us, I mean, Kelvin has mentioned it as well. And being an actor is probably not one of the choices that they want for us, sort of thing. So I think that'd be an interesting place to go to see that interaction. And also something else that me and Esther have talked about a lot is just break us. Like, I want to be Walter White, just break us.
Hey, Ingrid,
make us do marijuana, go out
doing
sex clubs, and just make us crazy.
Wow.
Whoa!
He wants to have a Rob Heaps night on the town.
Yeah.
I do guided tours. Say you're out, Joe.
How do people tuning in right now sign up for that tour? Like, this is your side hustle. Esther, did you have any other thoughts aside from stealing checks?
Aside from stealing checks, no. If we get a season 2,
Watch the show. Finish the show.
Yes, I would love, because I think in season 2, the Yun family's gonna go through fire, right? Lena joining the circus, and Ingrid, what we thought we thought her future was set.
Mm-hmm.
As a mom, I thought my job was done, raising my 2 daughters a certain way, and then now everything has been turned upside down. So I think the family is gonna go through fire, right? And so I'd love to see that process. This whole family, our perfect life as we thought we knew it, being turned upside down.
Absolutely.
Walking through the fire and seeing how we come out at the other side of it. I'd love to see that. I think mom and dad are going to be transformed. Ingrid obviously is going to be transformed. I don't know about Lena. Lena's Lena. So
she's at the circus. I mean,
yeah, she's at the circus. She's like, whatever. Okay, I walk on fire coals all the time. Whatever. But as for mom, dad, and Ingrid and the family, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see us just thrown in, in the pit of uncertainty, and just see how we get through that and how we come up on the other side. I would love to see that.
Love that.
That's amazing. And speaking of Rob Heaps' tour, I was going to do a quick game of who is most likely to. So, I mean, who's most likely to joke or prank people on set?
I'm going to say Kelvin.
Yeah, I don't trust that guy.
Really?
No,
Okay.
I feel like you got a couple in you, mate.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe I should pull out a couple because
Yeah.
because I'm really not I'm not a I don't know. I don't usually do that. Maybe I will though. Maybe I should. If we get a season 2, you guys watch out because I'm coming for you.
You need to show those behind the scenes pranks.
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay.
What about who's most likely to try new food?
Ooh.
Try new food?
Mm-hmm.
Rob Heaps.
I'll eat anything.
Yeah, I think that's Rob, dude.
Yeah, I'll eat,
I think that's Rob.
I'm an omnivore.
Just by evidence on camera as well, I think. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah, the japchae noodles.
Yeah.
God, I could not get enough of that. They have so, because you know, when you shoot scenes like that, the props department have a nightmare because they've got to have all the triples and they've got to have that 10 dishes waiting, keeping it warm. So we just kept chowing down for about 2 hours.
Sounds like the best job ever.
Yeah.
She's the best.
It is. And lastly, who's most likely to go out and karaoke? Please join me. I do it every day for self-care.
Arden Cho.
Yeah.
Arden, yeah.
She took us out. She took us all out. One night. I discovered, oh wow, she's got an annoyingly good voice as well. This is just,
she's just perfect.
It's getting a bit much now.
You're talking to a group of Asians, karaoke is, I mean, I've been at karaoke for like 6 hours straight before.
Yeah.
It's like, I think any one of us, it doesn't matter what level of singing you have, you just sing with heart.
I just got scared.
Yeah.
That was scary. Wow.
I think Esther just took the title. I think she's
6 hours. 6 hours is dedication. 6 hours. You're recording
do you
a record.
Sing the same songs over? Like
no.
6 hours of
Do you know how many songs that there are out there?
Wow, you're a strong woman.
We already knew that.
Yeah.
Celine Dion at 5 a.m.
Wow. Yes, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
I start out as Mariah, then I go to Celine. Whitney, and,
that's the formula.
I think Esther wants to take the title from Arden right now.
Wow.
I will fight her for it.
Whoa. Season 2.
That's a great scene.
Yes. A drunken karaoke fight between Ingrid and Mrs. Yun. That would be amazing.
I can't beat her. I can't beat her in skill, but I can wear her down.
Wow.
There you go. That's an approach.
Hey, we got a little bit of a dark horse here that's not on partner track. I think Dr. Wong here might have some skills, but I think she will just go through the whole library of BTS songs just in one night.
Actually, I do sing in Korean and English, so there's a lot of songs diversity. YouTube's really diverse now, so I'll leave BTS to BTS because no one can touch them to me. Okay.
Wow. There's the revelation.
Before we got on, we had a discussion about BTS.
You see my pillow in the background. It's all good.
Right, yeah.
She's Army.
No, you're serious about it.
Oh, I have a little tattoo. Yeah. Okay.
You have
fun times. It's not huge. It's not one of those like back stamps or whatever. We'll talk more off camera about that.
What does your Asian daddy say about that?
He has a tattoo too with our Wong on him.
Whoa.
Yes.
He's Yakuza?
That's cool.
He got it in his 50s. It's a Yakuza.
Oh my God.
Dad,
I love it.
Earmuffs.
That's the direction we should go.
Yeah.
Korean.
Turns out one of the other Asian families.
That's a great one.
Neither of us is Japanese.
Yeah.
Korean
but it says Wong, so.
Korean one, I forgot. Yeah.
So diversity, true. It's okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. Specificity. Exactly. So a couple promo things before we wrap up and maybe take a few questions from Facebook. We got quite a few. But first off, why should folks tune into Partner Track? You can do 20 seconds or, why should they watch it the first, second, or third time?
Because it's a very digestible package. Obviously we do the rom-com thing and it's that part is light and fluffy, but we use that as a sort of like Trojan horse to get to the issues. And obviously we're not writing a thesis. Obviously it's not going to be in this particularly like, we can't represent every single prong of the argument out there. But we do get to the general kind of issues faced by Asian American women specifically in a way that I think is broad enough for even women outside of that ethnicity to relate to as well.
And Desmond takes his shirt off.
Makes you think.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I was just going to say Kelvin was saying that was the draw for everybody.
That's the draw.
Yeah. When he's changing his
Drop
shirt,
the mic.
like done.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, let me ask, why was that not in the promo?
I don't know.
Because there's
too much heat. Too much heat, dude.
Yeah.
Too much.
That would have kept us
Gotta give it
record-breaking.
Too much.
You can't reveal all that, dude. That's talk about a Trojan horse. That was dude.
Yeah, I'm blushing now.
That would be a thumbnail. You know, if you keep that thumbnail up, like if we were watching some dating show, people might think it's something else and just fall in love with the show.
That's true. Yeah. Hey, you know what? It's all part of the marketing. It's all part of the fun. You gotta have fun on a TV show too.
Shades of Brando and Streetcar Named Desire. It's
absolutely, man. Yeah,
when he's he's taking the shirt off in front of Vivian Lee. So.
Stella.
Yeah.
100% like
Project
Brando.
Well, any other thoughts on that before you get to plug your own projects or talk about what you're doing next?
Well, I think first of all, it's all about the algorithms, and we want a season 2. So please keep watching it. But for me, I have it looped all the time, and I still enjoy it because it's like seeing friends again over and over. You're not sick of seeing your friends over and over again, right? So, and I think the characters have done such a great job, like the actors. I feel like everybody is so likable that you can watch Rachel over and over again, Bradley over and over again, Z and Carter, Papa Min and Nick Larson, and see all the little nuances in our dinner scenes and, what Ingrid and her mom are talking about. I mean, it's rewatchable because I think we're likable. I'm biased, obviously.
It's also, Joe, it's relatable. You know what I mean? That's one thing I always come back to. We talk about representation, we talk about race, we talk about, this whole time we've been talking about Koreans and Chinese and those nuances that we're able to bring in because of who we are. But I really think no matter who you are and what you do professionally or what you would like to do professionally, there's so many lessons behind the characters. There's relationship lessons. Thank you, Rob. We see what the ideal man, the goal is, right? And then we also see a career woman, regardless of her ethnicity, but you factor in that ethnicity, and maybe that applies to a Latina woman who's maybe dealing with the same issues in her workplace, or an African-American woman. The whole brotherly thing I keep talking about, being the eldest of the family, being the youngest of the family, those that internal discrimination that happens so frequently. It's very, I really like Rob's comment about Shakespeare being almost colorblind, right? And I think as much as we are so proud of having Georgia Lee, an Asian American showrunner, having someone like Kevin Berlanti, an Asian American director, and then obviously having this cast, which, side note, we obviously all vibe. I mean, let's not get that twisted. Like, the reason why we're able to bring so much love to the camera is because it happens off screen, and so I'm very proud to say that. But back on topic, it's, we could be any ethnicities, you know what I mean? Because there's so much similarity. And I love it because, one thing a lot of, I think the viewership doesn't realize is that as actors in a Netflix show, there are a lot of restrictions. And what I mean by that is a lot of times we don't see the scripts if we're not in that episode. Mm-hmm. So when we experience watching the series in its entirety, we're also a viewer, you know what I mean? And what I loved and what I wasn't really aware of is like Rachel's and Brad's and even people like I forget Will's character's name, but Will.
Todd.
Yes, Todd. And even in Zane's character and in the intern and the and the paralegal, and just everyone is just doing their own deal, which is so relatable. You know what I mean? Like, I love Robbie's character of that paralegal guy who just could care less. And then you find out his dad knows Marty, and you're like, that's why he's here, right? Like, just the smallest thing, I was like, oh my God, I totally get that guy. You know what I mean? And for me, it was cool being a viewer. You know what I mean? Even though I know all you guys, it was very interesting to me. And I related to it in so many ways, And I think if we're going to broadcast a reason why to watch it, it's just because you're going to find yourself in multiple characters and you're going to realize there is a light at the end of that tunnel. You know what I mean? And mental health included. Like, I mean, I always talk about society makes us think there's so many things we should be doing, like literally high school, college, grad school, partner track, right? Like, this is what you're supposed to do because you didn't want to be a doctor. So you're going to do that. Right. but then it's like, I want to be a writer. You know what I mean? And then Rachel, she finds that, Alexandra, like, it's so beautiful to me because that's what I identified with. I was like, oh my God, the artist right there, So I just think, the millions that have watched it, I mean, there's a reason why they're connecting, and I think it goes to a bigger picture perspective in that regard.
Rich, you need to become motivational speaker. Like, I'm just listening to you, and it's so interesting.
Oh, I wrote all this before. I appreciate it. I'm trying to make it sound like it's off top. So
TEDx.
Yeah.
So sorry, Rob, go ahead.
I was just going to follow up on that point. So I think because of COVID, especially, a lot of people now are wondering what on earth they're doing with their lives and trying to figure out if they want to do something different.
Yeah.
And again, the show is very much about, a lot of these characters in this show are having complete crises about their values and about what they want out of life and whether they're on the right track, partner or otherwise. And I think there's a lot. That's what you just said, Rich, about you actually, even if you've read the script, you don't really know what the show is till you see it. And when I watched it, oh my God, this is a show about people in crisis. Trying to figure out.
I was like, where's the psychologist here? Like
what are they doing with their lives? And I find that really, especially since COVID, I think a lot of people are going through that.
Totally.
Definitely. Well, what are people working on that we can tune in, or any exciting things that you wanted to share?
I've got something called Brother's Son coming out. Byron Wu is show running that and writing that. And it stars Michelle Yeoh, and that should be coming out towards the end of the year, maybe 2023. And there's something called Beef that's coming out. I'm playing Ali Wong's father.
Oh my God, that's going to be great.
Yeah, Stephen Yun and Ali Wong are executive producing that. And Maxine, which is part of the it's part of a new series of small films that Disney is doing called Maxine. It's coming out, and so those are exciting things that are sort of alternative stories that are being told right now that I'm a part of.
Kelvin's busy.
Love to see it.
What about others?
We're gonna secretly sign off and be like that, Kelvin.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a nice scene for that part.
Yeah.
We're not going out for the same parts, Des.
Call my agent.
Me and you are, Kelvin, and I'm not getting any of those.
Oh man. I got nothing. I'll be honest right now. I'm just enjoying chilling out. Go dump on social media if you want to see me just be self-aggrandizing all the time. Great.
Shirt or no shirt? That's what everyone wants to know.
Who knows? Who knows?
I like the wet hair look, definitely, though. That's everyone keeps talking about it. Every time about Des being shirtless. I like the wet, long hair look. That's what gets me.
Yeah. Thanks, I appreciate it, man.
When you had the long hair in Falcon and Winter Soldier, I was trying to tell the kids, this is who's going to be on the show, because they're young. So it's like, Falcon, Winter Soldier.
Falcon, Winter Soldier.
Yeah. I've had long hair for like years. I had to cut it just for the show that we just wrapped. So, well, you know what? Let's plug that. With Love, season 2 coming out next year sometime.
There you go.
Yeah. So that they were like, hey, how about a new? It's funny. My character's name on that is Nick, and there's also a team Nick, team something else going on there. So we share a hashtag, my friend.
Interesting. Yeah. No. We're not sharing a hashtag. Okay, that's mine.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, you're loaning it out to me.
Yeah. Don't like a domain name.
www.
No one else has ever used.
You better swoop that up
in the history of the internet before. I can guarantee you that. Yeah, that's really cool.
Well, I'm wondering if
I think what's cool, Kelvin, is that you brought up the I don't know 4 projects you just talked about that you're doing, but the fact that they're all in some capacity Asian American, being show run by Asian Americans or produced or co-starring, and to kind of piggyback on that, I've actually had a recent opportunity to do a pilot for Disney called Asian Baby Girl, which it focuses on the Vietnamese community. And that's being show run by an Asian American woman, and the director of that pilot was Din Tai, who's a Vietnamese American director. And I remember just being on that set recently, and, you know, knock on wood, we get picked up, because I think that would that's just a whole nother geographic and demographic that would be awesome to share with the world, especially on Disney. But it was very interesting because I'm sure most of us here have worked on a Hawaii set where obviously the local demographic is more Asian, right? And I grew up in Hawaii, so that to me, that's normal, right? It's not a culture shock. What was a culture shock is we shot that pilot in LA, and I swear to God, that entire cast and crew, it was 80%, even the first AD was Chinese, Japanese, Asian American, you know what I mean? And I was just like, this is crazy. Like, props, sound, the camera crew, the DP was Chinese American. I was like, oh my, like, did I, you know, obviously I got the memo, but did I get the full memo? You know what I mean? Because, and I was like, this is Hollywood. Like, this is amazing in all the best ways possible. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah.
This is the sea change that is happening right now behind the scenes. Women run sets. There are all female sets happening now, a lot. African American sets and POC sets, and right. So that is the sea change that is happening.
Oh, and speaking of women, and you guys might not know this, but I just want to shout out Sarah Goldfinger. So in the writing community, especially for women, she's a hero. So I don't know if you guys know what happened on Y50 with Peter Lenkoff was being called out for his misogyny. He was a showrunner on CBS for Magnum PI, Y50, and MacGyver. But someone blew the whistle on him, and that person was Sarah Goldfinger, who is one of our showrunners. Yeah. So we do have some very strong revolutionary women and people of the BIPOC community, just part of
and
show.
it's going beyond that too. I mean, just to plug my last thing, because I really want to give respect to this other film I just did. It's a thriller, but more importantly, I get to I'm playing the dad of Terry who in character wise is a queer lesbian daughter of mine. And we play a Chinese American single father with a Chinese American queer lesbian daughter. And that, like, when I got called for that, I was like, whoa, like, that is so specific and so empowering and so needed. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And not to give my character away, but I remember one of the first questions I had for the writer, which was, am I affected? What generation am I? And she's like, your generation. And so I said, I love that, because the way I was able to interact with, if I had a daughter and she was gay, she was queer, how would I react? And to be honest, and not to give it away, but I literally reacted as if I would, which is, that's my daughter, period. You know what I mean? And so, but the fact that people are writing these things, you know what I mean? Like, that's the win, like, for us. And I love it, even for our characters in Partner Check, like, not to bring it back to Partner Check, but that's why we're here. Like, all of our characters are so well written, except for Rob, but whatever. We'll talk about that later. You know what I mean?
Everyone ganging up on Rob today.
Nick Laren doesn't exist.
It's fantastic, man. Like, that's why, like, I'm just so proud. I'm proud to be in this room with you guys. I'm proud to be in this, hopefully this continuing franchise with all you guys, because I think this is very much needed in the community and the world.
Absolutely. Well, aside from jumping on Rob, I think there are, you guys have done an amazing job staying together as a community and as a family. Like, I just feel the love through the screen. And so that's amazing. So Rich, you might've written one down, but there's the heart. Where's the Korean heart? Okay. So does anyone have a creative way to plug the Color of Success? Did anyone think something off the top that I can put in the outro? What are you thinking?
Take Dez's shirt off.
Yeah, let's just do that. Let's just do that.
How does that have anything
I'm sorry, Des.
I thought taking your shirt off was the hallmark of you really had no.
It's gonna hit the algorithm. Look, he pulled out $20.
That's it, Kelvin? Come on.
All right.
Okay, 40.
Oh, 40. All right, then yeah. No.
I don't know. Rob, take us out, dude. Come on.
Oh no. Why?
Yes.
Success is contagious. Come and catch it.
Love it.
Ooh, I like that.
That was pretty good. Man.
All right.
I'm telling you.
Anyone else can.
This guy's annoying. I'm telling you.
There's no flaws. No flaws.
Freestyle, top of the dome. That's good.
Esther, I'm looking at the comments real quick before we wrap up, and Vincent says, can we say that Esther Moon on here looks way too young to be a mom for Ingrid?
Oh, yes, we can. We definitely can.
No, but you guys saw the show. They aged me very well. They aged me very well.
Not easy to do.
Yeah.
All the acting.
Because you look young. It's like
Literally at the premiere screen, I was like, who's that? And then they're like, that's Esther. And I was like, that's mom? I was like, geez. What's up, mom?
Down, boy. Down.
Oh, wow. The double eyebrows going up right
oh,
there.
there's the family crossover.
Yeah,
A little bit.
Oh, it's writing itself.
Yeah, it's writing itself.
Joe wanted more scenes with me. He's going to get him.
Joe's really going to get drunk next season.
First fight scene.
Joe, you're going to get drunk
Oh my
on
God.
soju all night if that
That would be
happens.
great.
Oh man. Well, I mean, that's why I'm showing videos on Instagram of me working out, just in case something like that happens.
Off season.
Try to keep up with these guys. You know?
Off season, dude. Let's go.
I might want to take my shirt off too, you know. So
Hey, there's going to be a lot of skin come season 2. Let's go.
That's going to be thumbnails all over this. Just like
you
that.
know,
Be like
there's got to be more
Thrones.
sexy Asian dads.
Be
I'm
like-
just saying. You know?
How would you
Ooh,
describe
yeah.
Partner Track
Oh my
season
gosh.
2?
Joe is just waiting for someone to ask him to take his shirt off.
Take your shirt off.
Esther,
Yeah.
go for it. Ask him. You're the mom.
Yeah, seriously.
No, I had enough of that.
She did.
Well,
I tell you,
Fresh new meat.
you know, we talk about the jokes on set and stuff, and you know, people will always say to Lena, like, her eye rolls are so good, you know.
Yeah.
They always pan to her in the eye rolls, and she said to me, I had good practice because of your bad jokes on set.
Ah,
Oh,
nice.
Damn, savage.
I'm a giving actor, you know. I just want everybody to have their best performance. So
absolutely.
Thank you, Joe.
Good of you.
Well, thank you all so much for being here. You don't even know how much this means to me, and it's so much gratitude all around. And why I do this too is I didn't mention, but I have 2 young daughters, and I continue to do this to put faces out there so that they can see that the world is different from when I grew up, when we grew up, and they're half Vietnamese too. So I hope your Richer show gets out there, because I'd love for them to see that.
yeah.
So I appreciate you guys so much, and I will continue to promote this and any projects that you'd like in the future. So please keep in touch, and thank you again.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
it's wonderful.
Be fun.
Thank you so much for listening to the Color Success Podcast. Listen, like, subscribe on all major streaming platforms, YouTube, IG, and if you want exclusive content, you can join our Patreon. All links can be found at colorofsuccesspodcast.com.